Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know, yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show, yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know, yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show, yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know, yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show, yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know, yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzle show, yeah.
Don't say anything embarrassing, Matthew. Coffee sips.
Hello.
Hello, sir. How you doing, Drago?
Not bad. How are you?
Doing good. God, if you survived yesterday, you can survive anything.
What happened yesterday?
Better question is, what didn't happen yesterday?
Lol.
There was that, $62 million hack on Blast. Sovereign Sense had a huge release. Crypto Social is having a very cool vampire kiss moment, bringing folks from other platforms potentially with monetary incentives.
Ooh,
That's
there's
just
also interesting things.
I saw. Yo, what up, Rizzle?
What's up, dude? I'd be interested to hear your take on all those things. All these things are things that I peripherally know about, but would appreciate your insight on. And they are all interesting things that are going on right now.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this last night. I was like, holy shit! What a fucking Tuesday! What a crazy ass Tuesday. It just didn't stop. I guess we can go in chronological order if you want to. The first thing that really happened yesterday was that sovrn.art's curated sense release. You want to talk about that first?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, give people an overview, man, because I feel like I grok basically what's going on, but if you're not in the weeds, maybe it's off some people's radars.
Yeah, so this is a Bitcoin inscription collection, right? So 10,000 images of old pennies inscribed on the Bitcoin blockchain is the dumb way to describe the collection. Yeah. But it's also it's what it's supposed to be described as, literally what it is, right? And it probably looks dumb and stupid to a lot of people, but there's a lot of details that are baked into this that to me, it's sort of the collection itself, and then each of the individual inscribed cents is sort of the equivalent of a McNugget-sized bite of crypto philosophy, art, and modern monetary history, all baked into one.
Oh, dude, help me get there, man, because from the outside it looks sort of dumb and stupid and gimmicky. Yeah. But I genuinely I want to understand, because I have a feeling, like you said, there's more to it once you get under the hood. Yeah.
So 10,000 pictures of pennies essentially is what it is. And when you dig into the project, you learn exactly what Bitcoin inscriptions are. So each of these pennies is inscribed on an individual sat, which is the smallest unit of a Bitcoin. It's 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. The whole ordinal setup, the protocol that you set up on top of a node to kind of track the transfer of these individual sats is a whole deeper rabbit hole. But for our purposes, the whole ordinal inscription Bitcoin NFT thing hinges on the fact that this smallest individual unit of a Bitcoin can be tracked and sent by itself in exchange between folks, effectively creating NFTs on Bitcoin, right?
Right.
So within the sat, there's a signature field where you can add an image of a scanned penny. And there's 10,000 of those. And the pennies themselves, they range in year from, I think, early 1900 up until 1982. So you'll look at the image of the penny, and I got two 1981s. And the reason for that range and ending in 1982 is the fact that 1982 is the last year that pennies, at least in America, were minted using copper. after 1982, that's when pennies became like they were minted using zinc, which is like worthless, right? But copper, there's this funny tension that the copper of a penny is worth more than 1 cent. Like it's
Right.
worth 2.5 cents, like bare minimum. But also because of that, like that copperness and then the history, the different mints, there's this rarity added to this thing that the government is like, no, it's worth 1 cent. So the fact that old pennies are now collectible and effectively worth more than 1 cent, it sort of highlights this glaring paradoxical chink in the armor of the government and leadership saying like, this is worth what I say it is because I say it is worth that kind of approach.
Yeah.
It's like poking fun at that. And the project itself, like they literally collected these 10,000 individual pennies, and part of the reason putting it on the Bitcoin blockchain is to memorialize them forever. And what they did behind the scenes was they melted all the copper from the pennies down into like a big copper tube, just because it's like fucking destroying that and memorialize it on like the strongest, most secure blockchain out there that no one can fuck with. So it's like all of those things baked into this collection, and it leans into the collectability. Some of these pennies are rarer than others. Like there's a few years that are just unique versus like the 1981 pennies I have. There's several hundred of those in the overall collection. But yeah, it's actually a little bit deeper once you dig into it, and its seeming simplicity and like fucking stupid pennies on a blockchain is a great starting point to kind of dig into all the little threads and peel them apart for folks that are interested.
Oh no, dude! I really appreciate your take. I mean, once you like explain the nuances, it comes across more like a proper like indie Web3 art type of project that actually has some sort of statement and intention behind it and everything. So cool, man. Yeah, from the outside looking in and especially because I just feel like there's so many gimmicky things on ordinals right now that it's hard to sift through and really, understand what has some layers beneath of it without like getting into a discussion and everything. Dude, you had mentioned like a couple other things that in a similar vein, where I've noticed but are a little bit off my radar that I appreciate your take on, and I can't conjure those things up right now, right at the beginning of the recording here.
Yeah, we can probably save the hack for later since that was
the hack. Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your take on the hack. But before that, the other thing that kind of popped up on my radar yesterday in particular, I think it was Alex Masmej. So he's done a few things in the space. He had like his own social currency back in the day.
Yeah,
Alex,
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, he's been doing his thing, building throughout the bear. But his recent project, which I forget what the name of Showtime. Yeah. So he was working on Showtime, and then Farcaster kind of hit its viral inflection point at the beginning of the year. And from what I understand, he pivoted Showtime and renamed it DRAKULA. And leveraging the Farcaster protocol, like the followers and everything that folks
I saw something about this. Okay. I think I saw Evie posting about it.
Yeah, it's like TikTok, but like a front-end client built on top of Farcaster. So it's video-based. Like people can literally take their TikToks and like, I guess, Instagram moments, whatever you call them, like the vertical orientation shorts that folks can record, permanently save those somewhere on some blockchain. But the big thing is that they've been leveraging DEGEN, which is, some people call it a meme coin. I call it the social currency of the Farcaster network writ large. Essentially, it's just the distribution mechanism is what's causing it to go a little bit viral, and the fact that the more that you tip others, right? You're not collecting allocations of DEGEN for yourself. You collect it to give to other folks in order for you to get more. And whenever they airdrop the real DEGEN to folks, like you'll get more based on how much you tip people. It's kind of fucking crazy and weird, whatever. But because it's ERC20, there's a fucking market for it, and liquidity pools are open. there's real value associated with this. And a lot of it is floating around the ecosystem. And DRAKULA and Alex, they received like a grant that they're then using, like I think it's like 20 million or some odd DEGEN, which is a few million dollars worth or something like that. And they're incentivizing creators to like, hey, like if you take your videos or you create new videos and they get popular on DRAKULA, we'll pay you up to $1,000 a week in DEGEN to do this.
Hey.
And the videos that I've seen are like not terribly made. Ted is a popular figure on Farcaster. She makes great content. She also has a podcast. She makes great like TikTok style videos. And she, along with a bunch of other folks, are uploading. I think Easy's on there. He's like the only person from our crew that I've seen active there. But they're getting paid to these videos. And in a time, at least for Americans, that like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen with TikTok heading forward, but a market or like an app that's paying people to bring their stuff over there that seems to have some kind of like good energy, not terrible energy. It's kind of an interesting play. The fact that it's not necessarily a vampire attack. It's more like a vampire kiss. It's like, you come over here, we pay you, baby. Like people away from there come to here. It's interesting. It seems like a positive, at least short term.
Dude, I like the concept, and I definitely like the idea of we've talked about it before, just like more places to host like different types of content in the Web3 area that like are accessible and everything. And I saw that and I clicked around with it for a second and decided not to mess with it, but that's cool to have a better understanding of what it is. Dude, figuring out how to like access DEGEN is like a pain in the ass, man. That's like a whole nother story. But dude, I don't like understand. Like, I like the concept, man, but like there's a lot of like cool concepts that are set up like on very speculative currencies out there that, you know, have a tendency to collapse once those currencies collapse, or like the platform gets flooded, or the tokenomics get diluted, or, you know, something goes wrong, you know, sideways with and the concepts have been there, man. We've seen this with like a lot of like, I feel like some of the audio platforms like early on went this direction, and like we're set up on like a random coin that like didn't do the right things. And I feel like I just love to see some of these platforms like do something similar to what like Collect Pods is doing, and some of these ones that are using currencies that are I mean, you know, optimism is far from like an established currency, but I feel like there's not a lot of like inherent risk in like using it or like building a product on it, because you can sort of like, you know, base everything in ETH as long as you can get people to bridge and everything. And I don't know, man, setting these things up like and these economies, and like, you know, taking the time to build content on a speculative platform like this, I feel like sometimes, like, you know, you hit a home run and, you know, the token goes to the moon and you're early in and, you know, can walk away. But I just feel like the longevity of these things, like hinging on something like that, is just like such another like wild risk factor in, you know, just trying to pull off a Web3 platform that serves an actual purpose, you know, and I feel like is a real good concept.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts on the DEGEN token. First of all, like, not financial advice, do your own research, all this shit.
Yeah,
I do have a bag of DEGEN, to make that clear too. But I also have a hot take on it. I'll start with the hot take, and then I'll get into like sort of why it's kind of exciting to me.
Yeah.
So the hot take is sort of for the reasons that you're hinting at, like Audius back in the day with Audio Token, and Friends with Benefits. I would probably say like things that were really hyped up. Maybe AXS, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Things were really hyped up, had some VC influence behind it that soared to crazy high valuations and then ended up fucking crashing and burning. There's definitely vibes of that with DEGEN, because like some of the same figures and like VC, from what I understand, at least a VC is behind it in some shape, way, or fashion. Like that's like, okay, that's I don't know, not the deja vu that I want. I want some positive. That's not good. Deja vu. That said, though, versus things like Audius or Audio Token back in the day, or even like Sand from Sandbox, right? The tokens that were baked into the app that like intentionally by the developers, that I sort of understood it in the case of Audius. Like you upload music and you'll get paid in audio, or like you host a node, or I don't know, you get paid in audio. Like I sort of got it. It was sort of forced. Sandbox and Sand, I was just like, that makes no fucking sense to me personally. It just seemed like a cash grab. And and this is sort of where it leads into like a positive territory, at least with DEGEN and Farcaster. DEGEN is removed from Farcaster. It's like an independently developed social token on top of it that is just because of the social network that's emerging on Farcaster. It's sort of like this fertile breeding ground to distribute it on top of, sort of like that more organic side of things. But also like with Sand back in the day and Sandbox, even Audio and Audius, AXS and Axie, those tokens themselves sort of act as a proxy to speculate or invest into those related or underlying apps. And like with Farcaster, you can't get on the cap table easy if you can at all. But DEGEN is probably the closest proxy to quote unquote like speculating or investing into Farcaster as a protocol and like the emerging network of apps that are building on top of it. So that's how I'm thinking about it. Like it feels interesting. I'm very personally bullish on the whole protocol and the action and activity that I'm seeing built on top of it. So getting into DEGEN in that way, I'm not doing the daily tipping things that look to me tiring, like a certain type of treadmill. But it's something that folks are getting excited about, and there's certain types of users that like that's the bag, and it looks like it's unforced and natural for them. So it is what it is. But then the other interesting green shoot from it is like, I think you may have seen Stella Bell post this. Max Jackson, another artist, has been utilizing DEGEN and like creating these tip DEGEN auctions, or DEGEN tip auctions, I think they're calling it. So they're saying that, hey, a work or a few editions are up the top, let's say 10 bidders will get an edition, and then all tippers will get like a tipper edition, something like this. Or some artists are going like, hey, here's a one of one. You can tip in DEGEN, and only the top tipper is going to get the edition. I'll keep the rest of the tips, but thanks for the tips. I don't know. It's kind of a novel way to utilize it on top of, like in this case, most of the people are using Warpcast. So like within the Warpcast channels or whatever, that they're holding these DEGEN tip auctions. It's an interesting way to use, again, like a crypto social primitive and token to leverage collector artist interactions.
No, dude, it's definitely interesting. And I like experimentation in this direction in general, which I feel like we've been lacking over the years. And so just seeing some action and people who I respect very much and who are like very intelligent, building on it and using the platform and doing things differently. Yeah, man, I just, I keep coming back to like, if I'm a creator or whatever, we've seen time periods, like the Audius era, we should say, where a lot of different platforms, are going to get spun up and reward people in their like native currency and everything. And we've like encountered some of these over the years where, we've like been, sort of like, should we start like listing our podcasts on there? But I think like, similar vibes where we've seen some of these things crash and burn before, and no one really wants to establish themselves on a platform that's likely to do that. But then collect pods came around, man, and I feel like OG Cent like had a similar situation, whereas like just pay people in ETH. It doesn't have to be very much, but like if you really want to appeal to people and give them something that they understand, like all the speculative currencies and everything are cool, but in order to like actually make creators really comfortable in the longevity of the project, I feel like we're just past the point in time where I feel like I can count on like a very hyped up project with a new currency that is unloading it on new users to be able to continue to maintain that. I just feel like we haven't really seen that like at all, really. But there are projects, like Mirror XYZ, like another example that they're essentially just paying people on on a L2, but in ETH, and people can grok it, and the platform seems solid and like it's not going anywhere. And I don't know, man. It's just seems like very interesting, but I don't know. I'd just be hesitant to like devote a lot of time into developing content, like at least for the sole purposes of like financial gain. Like I definitely see people straight up gaining more social media traction over there, and with stuff like that, I feel like you got to go where your audience is. So there's certainly advantages, just in that, if you're, just gaining traction.
It's really interesting, and it seems like it can cut both ways depending on how it plays out. But in the short term, it is an interesting lever to kind of use to grow following base, because if you're like, hey, I have thousands of dollars, like USD dollars, and DEGEN to tip today, do this or do that, that's an interesting marketing lever, right? Again, you're probably going to optimize to a certain type of user broadly. The ones that are chasing airdrops and shit like that, which is like sort of playing with fire and getting those follows or whatever, is probably not as valuable as it's an organic follow. But they're also just like a pretty large number from my interactions of like really thoughtful people on and like using the front end clients built on top of Farcaster that are getting a lot of tips because they're being super thoughtful. And a lot of the folks that are tipping in DEGEN aren't optimizing for the airdrop farmers. They're actually trying to optimize and tip in like a really thoughtful way too. So it's like, okay, this is on the whole quite interesting. Some weird speculative shit that may not be incentivizing the right type of users going on. Yeah, of course you can't fucking totally eliminate that, but there's more good than bad, at least from what I've been seeing in like my interactions on the day to day. So that's cool. Again, novel organic uses of the token are also positive signs, and it's helping as this just another flywheel driving attention to the overall network for everyone, which just kind of spills over into this like greater goods benefit for folks, in addition to whatever other viral developments could happen from the folks that are developing the protocol or working on any of the popular front end clients. So that fact, coupled with the audience, like the follower base that you're growing there, again, with the example of DRAKULA, like you're porting that follower base over. So when people come from Warpcast, for example, that sign up to DRAKULA, you're bringing your audience with you. If your audience and anyone that else that you followed previously on Warpcast joins DRAKULA, boom. It's like that you see everyone that you already had been following. And that portability of the social graph is super fucking interesting. But on that point, for folks that have had on-chain social graphs before Farcaster protocol was a thing, like just basic artists and collectors on-chain, like give us or someone please develop a quick way to port that on-chain social graph onto Farcaster. So if for folks that are using their ENS names on Farcaster that linked it, if there's any association with that ENS, like as a collector or follower, please just like auto recommend or like auto follow the folks that I've purchased from or collect or hold,
Oh, that'd be so cool.
I think that would really solve one of these the biggest cold start issue that I've seen people complain about, like especially moving from Twitter over, where it's just like, I have to start from zero again. Oh, and it is a slog, but I feel like we're so close to having that be like not an issue,
Really
especially
cool
for the older folks.
Yeah, somebody do it. That would be really cool, and definitely like an interesting wrinkle in it. I do like shitcoins and like speculative like new currencies for tipping and that kind of thing. I feel like shades of like OG Discord tip bot with like people throwing ants around and everything. Like they're totally pointless, valueless currency, but it's kind of fun. And even if it's worth like 0.0001 cent, to the fact that someone thought to give you a tip or whatever is always kind of nice. So dude, I like that kind of thing, and I like that kind of thing being like seamless. It does seem like shades of like, I'll tip you my social currency if you go and like and retweet my post and, do certain things like that and everything. But I feel like inherently in social media, you get that like almost no matter where you go. So that's just going to be a thing, no matter what. Dude, I like the experiment, man, and I'm here for it. I've been a little bit more active over on Warpcast and everything lately. And Twitter's just such a dumpster fire, man. Like, it's definitely got it's like the reasons to be around and everything, but the sifting through and finding decent content. I think you and I were just talking about it yesterday, like off the air. Just how difficult it is to see shit from people who genuinely want to see their shit, and very frustrating. So. It's cool to see people spinning up their own like personal channels or whatever over at Warpcast, which I think is like an interesting spin on the whole thing. You had mentioned Coldy yesterday when we were talking, like now has his own sort of channel there to host his content on. That's like much more, those kind of things I feel like are more easily accessible over there rather than having to navigate to everyone's personal Twitter feed individually to sort of, check out their timeline and everything. So I don't know. I feel like there's some like ease of navigation things with their setup that are starting to manifest itself that I think are cool. And I don't know, man. I'm glad. It seemed like the momentum was like on a downward trend for a little while, but right now, I don't know. It seems still interesting and to be attracting attention.
Yeah. And like with the Cody example, that just brings it into stark relief, really, what the added advantage is. Again, I think Twitter actually does out open source like its algorithm to an extent. It's just quite convoluted because it is an app for the whole world. And at that scale, like it's just optimizing for different ends versus Farcaster, where it's early, it's nascent, it's growing. So of course they're going to prioritize and make sure that everyone sees everything of the folks that they're following. And the Cody example was just perfect because I was talking to him on last Friday, and he was like talking about how it seems like no one's seen his tweets. And I was thinking about it, I hadn't seen any of his tweets for like months. And then I go and click into his profile and I'm like, dude, you've been posting like 5+ times a day. And I see art that I've collected or hold, like it's not surfacing at all in my feed. And I was like, what the F? And it's like Farcasters and Warpcaster aren't perfect or anything like that, but like at least you see the shit that's going on over there. And we were talking about other things related to like his vast body of work, tokenized and untokenized. It's like, damn, we need a place where we can kind of show that work and help kind of put it together so people see it and tell that broader story, blah, blah, blah. And set up his /Cody channel yesterday. Got a few hundred folks following it already, and people sharing the art of his and him sharing his own art, kind of adding more context to it. And it's like, boom, there we go. Win. Build off of that. Like that's exactly what it's here for. And then around it, like all this other interesting activity going on, folks organically developing ways to buy and sell and again, like mint work in frame within these apps. It's just incredibly positive signals.
No, it's cool, man. It's I feel like sometimes when the market goes up, like a lot of the innovation sort of gets chucked to the side and everyone's trying, sort of goes into like now is the time to monetize mode. And there's certainly a lot of that going on, but I don't know. It's cool. It's cool to highlight interesting stuff that's going on and see some larger scale experiments like this that I feel like we've just been, like I was saying, like lacking in general. So. I don't know. It's cool to see it continue to progress, and man, I feel like we're slowly moving in the direction of getting some really cool platforms to host some of our WIP content and everything that's more Web3 native and everything, and that'll emerge at some point. But all of these things are like little steps in that direction. And I don't know. I'm glad just to see the space progressing. We needed it so badly in the social media context, specifically for so long now. Just being able to communicate with each other effectively. Dude, I've been a little out of the loop because I've been like super heads down with Rizzlefest stuff, trying to get an early pulse check and slide into people's DMs who came last year, and just trying to get a sense of like who is interested in coming. We're trying to keep ticket sales like amongst the fam, basically like the Web3 like fam that, you know, we would consider fam or whatever. So fam or fam of the fam, and you know, getting a sense of who thinks they can make it, who might need a +1 or +2 tickets, that kind of thing. And I'm like pretty blown away by the response, man. I like have done this like thing that I've done a few times before where I open up like too many DMs, just trying to say what's up to people and get it, you know, gauge their interest and that kind of thing, which inherently leads to like 50 conversations with people concurrently and everything, which is kind of fun, man. But and I'm like a little bit surprised in a good way of like the positive response this early on and how many people are excited to make it and that kind of thing. And so we have like a cap limit in our head of about how many people we want to come more than last year. And dude, I'm starting to wonder if I'm going to end up back channeling the whole event without even having to really do too much public ticket sales stuff. So I guess saying that to say, if you're listening to this and I haven't reached out to you yet and you're interested in coming to Rizzlefest in October, the 4th through the 6th, slide into my DMs so I can put you on the yes, no, maybe list and keep you in the loop as I continue to do a little bit of outreach here. But dude, I'm getting excited, man. It's like another one of these things where we're gonna have some international crowd coming in, and I just remember being so flattered last time at the amount of effort people made to come from around the world. And I don't want to give out like any names yet because you know, all these are soft yeses until you know, we put out tickets and you know, people actually make the commitment and everything. But dude, the lineup looks killer, man, and it feels good that so many people are interested in like even coming out to this thing beyond the people who came last year, and sort of like get what we're trying to do in terms of just having like a Web3 meetup that is not focused on conferencey, shilly, you know, kind of things, and having some time to kick it together and everything. And we got some like a lot more organized this year, man. I think I mentioned before, we got Kelsey Driscoll helping me and Sky Bravo out, and Fly Frogs is in the mix again, and I've been in conversation with Steady and his nonprofit, and we're trying to weave together some sort of cool thread throughout the event that like gives back to the next generation of Web3 and everything. And so it's exciting, man. It's like really coming along, but this is like the front load of like the Rizzlefest work, where trying to put all the pieces in place for the thing to actually happen. So it's not a last minute scramble. And I should mention Harry Otter, aka Kuroki, man, has been coming through, and we've been having meetings on the regular and everything, and dude has been pitching in and helping out all over the place. And so we're like way more organized, man. We pulled it off last year, but I think this year is going to be a significant level up, and cautiously like optimistic / concerned that we're going to have like a situation where we're not prepared to have as many people who want to attend. So that is a good problem to have to deal with, but I'm pretty astounded at the response so far, man. So if I haven't FOMO'd you in yet, you should get your ass on the list.
I mean, I'm already on the list.
I'll make sure you're on the list. Adding Matt now.
But for all the other yous that want to join, yeah, make sure you reach out to Rizzle to get on there. Because, yeah, people continue to organically bring it up from time to time. So I'm quite excited. And it's not like right around the corner or anything. Although, like, this year is progressing so quickly that it may as well be around the corner.
Yeah, dude. Just trying to get out in front of it, you know, logistically and everything, which you got to start early. But because of that, man, I'm probably going to sit out NFT NYC this year, which is coming out a coming up in a couple weeks, but I will be at NFC Summit in Lisbon at the end of May, which I'm super stoked about. And I know a ton of people are coming out for that. That I'm also going to try and FOMO into Rizzlefest as well. My double entendre agenda now out there. But I believe you're going to NFT NYC, man. I think a lot of other people are, and there's still an outside chance I get up there for a night and everything, but been busy. And we're going to take the week off from the WIP that week as well, which is nice. It's always good to reset. And I know a lot of people will be at NFT NYC anyway. So we should talk WIP stuff, man. But are you going to be at NFT NYC throughout?
Yeah, I'm flying in next Tuesday, and I'm flying out Friday evening next week.
Right on.
So a few solid days. Obviously not going to the actual conference, which is just absolutely terrible. Please, no one go there. Don't give them your money. But anyway, outside of that, just I think the Super Rare Party is probably one of the anchor events going on that week. So focusing on that, and then in between, coffees, beers, Korean barbecue with a bunch of cool people.
No, it sounds good, man. And like I said, I'm close enough that I still could get out there. I have a tendency, dude, you're already giving me FOMO. There's a few other people that have reached out to me that are like, including Binks, shout out Binks, and Louis C. Rhymes. They both got things going on up in NYC during the event and everything that I want to get out to and everything if I make it up there. So I don't know, man.
If you make it up there Thursday, there's a Cyberbrokers thing, and I know for sure
I know.
at least then Brookhawk and Easy are going to be there. So linking up with them, so could be a nice reason to get you up there.
All right, to be determined. I'll getting FOMO as we speak. We need to change subject here. So what's going on with the WIP this week, man?
Bay Backner.
Yes.
We have a nice quarterly cadence with her. She always kills it. It's this week has been Mesh Art Fair and DCL. So we're leaning into that and excited for the surprise run of show that she's going to be cooking up for us. I know Metageist has been involved heavy on the build out for that. So, I mean, that's reason enough to attend to see what he helped create. But everything she's been doing over there is always pretty cool. I think the last time we went in for like this art fair was one of those, that section where there are like a number of artists that created their own like experiences in these like bodega like setups. So I sort of imagining that this time, but I also am open and expecting something completely different. So excited to see what she has in store for us.
Dude, yes, absolutely. And shout out Metageist, man, for being involved in this one. I feel like we saw that manifest itself in real time at the WIP in Discord during when at that last event when we were talking about it, and I'm pretty sure Metageist was like, "Hey, I want to get involved in the next one," and that's how it all went down. And now here we are coming back, dude. Fucking Bay is so great, dude. And I know we say it every time we have her on, but she's such a professional, and I feel like really like has her finger on the pulse of what appeals to our audience, and never disappoints, man. Like, there's a lot of people we've had on the WIP who are fantastic and have awesome projects and everything, but also like to understand our audience and how to sort of set up a run of show in a way that like hits for the WIP is often something that we have to do a lot of hand holding on, and rightfully so, because who the hell knows how to do what we do? It's so weird. But Bay does, like, she really gets it. And to be able to just, pass her the mic and know that she's got something teed up for us that our audience is going to love without us having to, and that's honestly one of the best parts, man. I feel like, a lot of these events, either you or I or both of them essentially have to scope out everything sometime the week ahead of time, at least, to sort of put together a run of show, figure out how it's going to work with our audience traveling from like one place to another, and like how much time each thing is going to take, and this and that, and like, and with Bay, we don't have to do any of that shit, man. And she just gets it, which also makes it really fun for me personally, because I feel like I get to be more of a guest at these things because I didn't get a sneak peek ahead of time. I didn't scope the path out. I don't know already what we're going to see, which doesn't really ruin it, because you always get like cool information and like stuff firsthand, like during the whip, that you don't get scoping it out. But to be able to like show up to some of these things and just play like audience member and be totally surprised at something that I know is going to be awesome, I'm here for it, man. I love this like loose quarterly informal arrangement we have with her.
Yeah, same. It's when we make the call to action to the WIP fam, is like, hey, if you have a cool idea, you want to do something, like reach out to us, we'll let you do it. Bay is the perfect encapsulation of that, and the events that she puts on for the proper whips that she's been doing for like years, plural at this point. It's crazy to think. It's perfect. It perfectly embodies that spirit, because she sets everything up top to bottom. We just get in there, we do our like intro shill, and then the show is run by Bay and crew, and we're just, like you said, along for the ride, just like as if we're part of the WIP fam, just like showing up. And it's very cool to not have to like hold the steering wheel and guide the progression of the show, because you have a G like Bay leading the way.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And her energy is great, and she's like it does a great job of explaining like many different artists, like pieces of art and their like interpretations on things and everything. So stoked, man. That's gonna be a killer one. So then we're off for a week, whip break for NFT NYC, and then back for a something, man. Maybe we don't reveal too much, but back on 411 with something that our build crew is working on, and I think we're going to drop a bunch of prizes on people this time around. We got some things up our sleeves we can unload it on our audience.
Yeah, no, excited for that. Big things cooking. Real quick to touch on, because I think this is like the third point that of like a crazy Tuesday that happened.
Oh yeah. Let's get back to
the $62 million hack over on the shit chain blast, whatever.
Yes.
Which is, like, all right. I think people were assuming that it was only a matter of time before like that shit was hacked. It was hacked, and then people were freaking out. Obviously, people were shitting on the shit chain, blah blah blah. But then level-headed people were just like, surely they're going to like roll this back, stop it. They control like the off ramps, blah blah blah, which basically proved to be true. But the point that I think is really interesting, and I think is worth focusing on, is at the end of yesterday, like it was like near midnight Pacific time yesterday, Pac-Man was just like, oh, we got $97 million secured in a multi-sig. And I'm like, what? It was a $62 million hack. Where did this extra $35 million come from? If he would have left it at that tweet, I'd be like, all right, that's probably bullshit. He's probably like quick rugging behind the scenes. There was like no link to the multi-sig or anything. But then he quote tweeted himself and tagged Zach XBT or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he also tagged Sam C. Zun, who's like a very, 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 very prolific and like well-respected security white hat hacker. Mm-hmm. And digging into the association of like Zach and Sam, this is something that I didn't know that popped up. But in February of this year, something called the SEAL org was created after about like almost 2 years of diligence and like folks in the crypto legal realm coming together, a bunch of white hat hackers coming together and kind of pledging allegiance to create this non-government nonprofit organization focused on securing crypto and acting as sort of like a SEAL force in case of a hack. And like SEAL stands for Security Alliance, and it's broken up. Like the Security Alliance has this thing called like SEAL 911 team, in addition to a few other things. But the SEAL 911 team, like Zach is part of it, Sam's a part of it, a whole other bunch of people that are listed on a public GitHub that are like OG devs and just white hat hackers are part of it, so that in the event of a hack like this that happened yesterday on Blast with Munchables getting hacked for that $62 million, you can call this Security Alliance there's like legal documents that have been drafted that you are essentially signing and handing over to this alliance and like, hey, you have immunity, like we got you covered. Like you can go in and do your thing and not worry about legal repercussions down the road. And that appears to have been what was the reason why they were able to get the funds back plus some more, apparently. Yeah. So I thought that was really dope. Like this public good, effectively, that's around and there to protect folks in the case of these hacks that have happened over time. That was like an amazing revelation coming out of a really shitty situation on top of a shit chain.
Yeah. Dude. I mean, I've mentioned that before, how like it's so crazy that, you know, we live in this world where so much money is flying back and forth and there's so many scams and hacks, and yet we still have to like essentially community police ourselves. And Zach has always been very much a part of that. Probably this other guy who I'm not familiar with that you mentioned, and a lot of other people that, you know, we're familiar with have done stuff here and there. So, dude, the fact that that's like the community police are like sort of getting organized is like honestly great news and like very comforting in a lot of ways, because you know, we desperately need people who understand the ins and outs of how this stuff works to be, you know, looking out for people who don't, or who just get like, you know, rugged or exposed in something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, man. My understanding is that this is not like a problem with Blast Network per se, but something that was built on top of their blockchain. Or is that not correct? It was sort of difficult to sift through all the different like
Munchable is a third-party app that's built on top of Blast. They hired, everyone keeps saying like a North Korean dev, but incredibly sus dev that whose GitHub just looked terrible and had effectively hard-coded in this like once 17,300 some odd ETH were sent to the smart contract that unlocked it so the dev could just walk away with it. Really fucking dumb. But it wasn't Blast's fault. It was lack of proper auditing and lack of focus on security on the third-party app developer, which was Munchables, which from what I understand it was like you're sending money to a smart contract to get some weird AI generated NFT thing that you would like feed to get more tokens of something. Some stupid fucking DEGEN play. But yeah.
That's what I was trying to clarify. I mean, so like, you know, essentially this is something that we've seen happen across like many different blockchains and side chains and everything. I see Blast specifically taking a lot of heat, and I don't really have any feelings towards Blast at all. I guess I was just trying to figure out where the problem was. So this is something we've seen like over and over again, apparently.
No, exactly. And the fact that it was such a quick resolution too, like within 12 hours from like the time of hack to it being the funds being secured. I've never seen that before. And I think that, again, dust is still settling. And I think more will come from the story, like the background of it, and maybe like a future film, if like my assumptions actually have some basis in truth. But it's the SEAL org that popped up. And again, from all the crazy hacks that we've seen in the past, the origin or the genesis, from what I grokked, of the SEAL org was like Sam Season and these other white hat hackers were like, why aren't any of these white hat hackers jumping in to help? Because like the space has just crazy amount of talent on that side of things. And it ended up being because just like this legal ambiguity, like this risk of getting involved and potentially being labeled a bad actor, blah, blah, blah. Projects nefariously attacking the helper to try to, I don't know, to get like bounties back or some shit like that. So it was very interesting, and I can't believe I hadn't heard of that before. But again, let's blame it on Twitter and hope that all those folks get on Warpcast and Farcaster so that the folks in the space can know that there's this service and organization available to them if they experience the worst of crypto and get hacked.
Oh, dude, that's fantastic. That's like the best news I've heard like all day long. I feel like this is something I've thought about often, how like, you know, a lot of the most brilliant people who are here like really early on aren't necessarily the greatest at like a lot of things that lend itself towards like business, marketing, organization, like, and we got a lot of like sort of lone wolves out there who are you know sort of do their own thing, which I sort of assumed Zach was, and maybe he had been for like a very long time, and maybe he is for the most part or whatever. But I don't know, man. Seeing like a lot of the big brains get organized for a common good is like a very inspiring thing to see, and like what is a very treacherous place for all of us.
100%. Anyway, that was Tuesday.
Good shit. That was, dude. It's exciting, dude. There's a lot of excitement going on constantly around here these days. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. But yeah, and we talk about how fun and interesting it is, and yeah, it's holding true, and I think it will continue to hold true. So excited for Wednesday, and then really excited for the WIP tomorrow, Thursday.
Yeah, dude. Oh, and quick shout out to Charles from Nifty Island last week, man, who just delivered. Like he was really had no idea what to expect. I'd never met him like virtually, personally, or whatever. And dude did a great job answering like about 30 minutes worth of in-depth questions from our audience about nuances on Nifty Island while he was simultaneously putting on a show in the arena, like racking up kills on everybody. So that was a great one, man. It was really cool to have him on.
No, yeah, plus one to that. Charles crushed world record for Q&A session in a very good way. Like all the questions were awesome, and like you had like that was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. And yeah.
You don't often see people just come in here and like crush the whip like that. But I'm like, dude was fielding questions, murdering people. Everyone was happy and wrapped the whip, and then he was out. It's like, damn, good job, Charles.
No, yeah. But again, like and that's what the whip is for, just to show folks and spotlight these projects for better or worse. Yesterday was obviously for the better. I think if you didn't have a good idea who Charles was, or if you'd heard other things through the ether, which I haven't heard anything negative, that should all have been dispelled, and like you should have full confidence that like it seems like someone that has a finger on the pulse, obviously highly capable, high functioning MFer, like literally getting like first place in a battle royale while fielding very challenging, very specific questions. Yeah. Just a very good signal for that project that continues to ship and iterate, and yeah, already starting from a very, very good foundation, going in a direction that seems like even better. So very excited.
Dude, I love that he is really good at Nifty Island. Like to me, that says a lot that like you can't say in words or whatever. And shades of Johan, man, like, you know, dude just loves his own project inside out and is fascinated with it and everything. And I dig that vibe, man. Like, you know, people who like genuinely spend time with the stuff that they're tinkering with or they're working on, promoting, you know, putting their weight behind and everything. I mean, Charles is like fucking really good at Nifty Island, man.
Yeah, no, dog fooding your own project that you're building and trying to get other people to use is, in my personal opinion, like the number one thing I look for, especially in crypto. Yeah. If you're not using your own product, like that's a red flag immediately. But using it is such a multiplier, a bonus. And even if it's not like quote unquote super popular today, well known, like it will be if you have founders like that love their product like that. And again, have the extra benefit of being very good speakers and communicators, and seemingly everywhere all the time on all the things. So yeah, checks all the boxes for me in particular.
Yeah, no, that was good shit. I really enjoyed that one. All right, dude. Been a good one. We'll wrap it here, and I'll see you at the WIP tomorrow.
Sounds good. See you in the metaverse tomorrow, dude.
All right, later, man.
Boom. Thank you, Dragonate. Thank you, Dragonate's mom. Let me make sure I save this and don't wreck myself. Later, y'all.